No one in Hollywood would have ever believed it, that Keanu Reeves, the beloved nicest guy in Hollywood, the man whose quiet humility and zen calm have earned him a cult following, would ever lose his temper on live television. But on that fateful day when he sat opposite Drew Barrymore on her bright bubblegum-colored set, the unexpected happened and the mask slipped. The Drew Barrymore Show was supposed to be a safe space, a friendly afternoon talk show where the biggest stars sip coffee, swap nostalgic stories, and remind audiences that even the rich and famous can be warm and relatable. That's what Drew wanted when she invited Keanu on the show, booking him to talk about his latest project, share some laughs, and maybe tell a sweet anecdote about their early days working on Babes in Toy. After all, these two had been in the same circles for decades, bonded by mutual respect, the easygoing vibe that only two veterans of Hollywood chaos can share. But no one, not Drew, not the studio crew, not even Keanu himself, could have predicted how a few probing questions would ignite a firestorm that would leave the audience in stunned silence. ID started innocently enough. The studio lights blazed. The audience, mostly women in pastel sweaters, clutching Drew's signature mugs, leaned forward as the two traded compliments. They laughed about the 90s, swapped goofy stories about auditions, and old co-stars. Keanu, as always, was soft-spoken but warm, giving thoughtful answers that hinted at the introspective philosopher beneath the action hero exterior. But then, Drew, trying to pull a more emotional moment from her guest, pivoted to a segment her producers had devised. Clearing the air, it was meant to be playful, read a headline or rumor, and set the record straight. But when Drew held up a card with a particularly biting quote about Keanu, something that dredged up old whispers about his reluctance to commit to projects, his supposed mood swings on set, the rumor that he's difficult behind the curtain of niceness, the air in the room shifted. Keanu's famous serene expression flickered. The corner of his mouth twitched. He leaned forward, eyes locked on Drew, and for a heartbeat you could see the calm slip away. Drew, ever the season host, tried to brush it off with her signature giggle, but she didn't see the raw nerve she just grazed. She pushed further, maybe feeling the tension would make for good TV. She quoted an unnamed director who had once accused Keanu of playing the Buddha in public, but the diva behind closed doors. That line hit harder than she could have imagined. Keanu's entire career has been built on the reputation that he's genuine, grounded, a man who rides the subway with fans, who gives away portions of his paycheck to crew members, who doesn't live in a fortress-like mansion but a modest home where he answers his own door. To have that questioned and on live television by someone he trusted was a betrayal that sliced deep. The audience fell silent. Cameras kept rolling. Keanu, his voice low but steady, said, "Is this what you invited me here for, Drew? To question who I am after all these years?" His tone wasn't angry yet, it was hurt, and sometimes hurt is more dangerous than rage. Drew, flustered but still determined to salvage the segment, leaned in and tried to justify it. She talked about honesty, about wanting to show all sides of a guest, but Keanu wasn't buying it. His eyes narrowed. That same steely look that made John Wick's enemies tremble now turned on a friend. He called her out, reminding her of the countless times she'd asked him for favors, for quiet support on her own troubled projects, for understanding when her own life fell apart in the tabloids. And there in front of the studio audience, he asked, "Did I ever betray you when you were down, Drew?" It was a rhetorical question, but it stung like a slap. Drew's smile faltered. The room was so quiet you could hear the crew's headsets crackling in the control booth. But Drew made the fatal mistake of doubling down. Her producer's voice was likely crackling in her earpiece, urging her to keep the moment alive. The spicier the drama, the bigger the viral clip. She pushed him on the subject, asking if he could admit that maybe, just maybe, the nice guy image was just that, an image. And that's when it happened. Keanu, who'd been clutching his mug so tightly his knuckles turned white, set it down so hard it slashed coffee onto the cheery pink tablecloth. He leaned forward, his voice rising for the first time. "I'm done," he said, each word like a gunshot in that cavernous studio. He stood up, microphone still hot, his chair scraping the floor. The security guys off camera shifted nervously. Drew tried to reach for his arm, pleading for him to stay, but he shook her off, not roughly, but with the finality of a man who's decided he's not playing this game anymore. Audience members gasped as Keanu ripped the clip mic from his shirt, the wire dangling like a severed nerve. "You want a show, Drew?" he said, staring her down. "Congratulations, you got one." And just like that, he walked off stage, past the shocked audience, past the blinking crew, out into the backstage hallway where his team scrambled to catch up. The Drew Barrymore Show's upbeat theme music stuttered to life, awkwardly trying to cover the silence. Drew, left alone in her candy-colored chair, tried to regain her composure, but the damage was done. The segment was dead, the audience stunned, and social media was about to do what it does best, rip the moment apart, frame by frame. Within hours, the clip hit the internet. Millions watched in disbelief as the world's nicest guy finally cracked. Fan pages split. Some blamed Drew for poking the bear, dredging up gossip that should have stayed buried. Others wondered if maybe this was proof that no one, not even Saint Keanu, is as perfect as the internet believes. Think pieces flew across blogs and gossip columns. Was Keanu right to walk off? Did Drew cross the line? Everyone wanted a piece of the scandal. Meanwhile, Keanu stayed silent, refusing requests for interviews, letting the clip speak for itself. Some insiders whispered that he would never again appear on daytime talk shows, that his trust in the cozy charade of Hollywood PR was shattered for good. Behind the scenes, Drew reached out desperate to apologize. But according to those close to Keanu, he didn't want to hear it. Not yet. The betrayal had cut too deep. For decades, he'd been the reliable good guy in an industry that eats its own alive. And in the blink of an eye, a friend turned that image into a weapon. It was a reminder that in Hollywood, even the kindest reputation can be devoured in a heartbeat. For the sake of ratings, weeks later, Keanu was spotted back on set.com as ever, laughing with crew members, handing out coffees. His outburst now, just a viral ghost, trailing him like a shadow. He gave no statements, he owed no explanations. In the end, maybe that's what makes Keanu Keanu. He knows when to speak and when to walk away. And as for Drew, her show weathered the storm, of course. The producers spun it as a misunderstood segment that went off the rails. A moment of raw honesty that was never meant to hurt anyone. But viewers remembered clips of Keanu's final words. "You want to show congratulations, you got one," became a meme, a cautionary tale about pushing even the kindest soul too far. Hollywood's nicest guy showed the world that underneath all that, Zencom is a man who knows when enough is enough. And maybe that's what we all needed to see. That even the people we hold up as saints are just human beings with limits. With pride, with a breaking point that comes when you least expect it. Subscribe to Hollywood Untold for more emotional stories behind music legends and the feuds that shaped rock history. Tap the bell to never miss a beat.